In other news, documents with classified markings that appear to be from the Obama administration were found at a think tank in D.C. that's tied to President Biden. The White House lawyer says the documents are currently being reviewed by the Justice Department and the National Archives. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian. Ken, good morning to you. So we know the documents were found days before the midterm elections. Walk us through how this discovery came to light and why we're just finding out about it now.
Good morning, Joe. Well, the White House hasn't answered that last question you asked, which is very important because had this been disclosed around the midterm elections, obviously it would have had a big impact. But what they are saying is that a small number of documents with classified markings were found in a locked closet at a think tank called the Penn Biden Center that Joe Biden created after he left the vice presidency and where he maintained office space before he became president. And they say that these documents were immediately turned over upon discovery and that now they are cooperating with a Justice Department inquiry. And we learned that the Attorney General has asked the U.S. Attorney in Chicago, who is a Trump appointee, to look into the question of whether a criminal investigation needs to happen here, Joe.
Of course, Ken, this comes 5 months after FBI agents executed that search warrant at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Dozens of documents with classified markings were found there. And the former president, he's been posting about this new case, but there are differences. I mean, how do these two discoveries compare, at least based on what we know right now?
There are huge differences, Joe. First of all, in the Trump case, they found 300 classified documents in total between the search and the subpoena. And there's some evidence that Trump and the people around him resisted efforts by the government to turn those documents over, in contrast to the Biden team, which self-reported immediately upon finding them. Generally, in a criminal context, self-reporting is exonerating, whereas it's the opposite in the Trump case. They seem to be resisting efforts to turn. The government still doesn't know whether they have all the classified documents that were taken from the Trump White House. So big differences here, but I think politically that may not necessarily matter in terms of how people view these two cases.
Yeah,
Joe.
that brings me to the next case. Despite those differences, we know Republican Kentucky Congressman James Comer, who's the new chair of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, is planning to request more information about what's been found. So what can we expect there, especially with Republicans now controlling the House? And then what are now the steps in this, Department of Justice investigation?
So in terms of the DOJ, this Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Chicago is reviewing the question essentially of whether a special counsel needs to be appointed to go forward with a criminal investigation. But in terms of what the Republican Congress is going to do, look, these House Republicans are going to investigate every aspect of the Justice Department. They've already said that. And the Justice Department is prepared to resist turning over any documents relating to pending criminal investigations. That's been their policy for years, or any pending matter whatsoever. So we can expect a big clash there. But as long as Joe Biden is president, the Justice Department doesn't have to turn over anything, really. So it's going to be a sort of a political fight between House Republicans and the DOJ in terms of what documents they see. But no doubt this and other things will be big matters for oversight by the House Republicans, Joe.
We're seeing a lot of this over the next couple of years. All right, Ken, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.